Seafood Watch rates the environmental sustainability of wild fisheries and aquaculture operations, basically farming fish, and publishes those ratings using a basic stoplight rating system. Red is avoid for now, yellow is buy but beware, and green is all good. Seafood Watch looks at a specific set of criteria when assessing wild fisheries. And these aren't quick check ins. According to outreach manager Tally Height, an assessment can take years.
The wild fisheries criteria is 4 criterion. So they're looking at the impacts on the stock itself. So that would be like your stock assessments. Is the population at a healthy level, basically? They're looking at the surrounding habitat. So is the fishing method that's occurring degrading the habitat? They're looking at management effectiveness. So even if the stock is healthy, the habitat's healthy, if there's not precautionary measures in place that were set by the fishing management, so like the government that has regulatory body over the fishery, if that's not happening, then who knows if it's going to stay sustainable in the future. So that's a criteria as well. And then bycatch is our 4th criteria, which is when other non-target animals, so not what you're fishing for, are being caught in the fishing process. So those are just the 4 for wild. So essentially what our scientists do is that when we're going to assess a fishery, they reach out to the government bodies, stakeholders in the fishery, whether it be fishers themselves or conservation groups, anyone that has information about the fishery, we would welcome and look for that when doing the assessment. And then they get all of their findings from each of those criteria, and they each criteria gets a numerical score, essentially, that then builds into the final rating.
Now, Seafood Watch is not a certification body. The Marine Stewardship Council, or MSC, and the Aquaculture Stewardship Council, or the ASC, those organizations actually accredit sustainable fisheries. Seafood Watch is more of a PSA.
But in addition to that, we are non-voluntary, meaning that we prioritize assessments based on what's important on the North American market. So we look at what's coming in, what are Americans eating, where is our assessment needed the most, and we assess a fishery or aquaculture production, regardless of if they want us to or not.
But there's a catch. Literally. Most of what these animals eat has never been rated at all.
The biggest barrier to sourcing sustainable seafood for feed is just the fact that the majority of the feed that we feed animals is not necessarily assessed right now. So we don't know how sustainable a lot of the fish is. And that's because most of the fish that we feed are forage fish species, which don't commonly make their way to like American and North American diets. And so we are working closely with Seafood Watch to look at the most common fisheries that we are getting the fish from for the animals and to get those assessed.
And just one more wrinkle. If y'all thought feeding zoo animals was easy, guess again. They're actually notoriously picky eaters.
We need to make sure that we're providing the utmost nutritional components for our animals because we have the highest standards for well-being and welfare. So we need to make sure that the food is nutritionally excellent that we're giving them, but there's also palatability. The animals in our care are adapted to eating a variety of foods. You know, some like crunchy foods, some like big fish, some like small fish. And so swapping out one fish for another, it's not that simple. We have to make sure that the animals are going to want to eat it, right?
We could find the most sustainable swap, but if the animal, and that even comes down to individual animal choice. And so we work really closely with nutritionists and animal care specialists to make sure that, you know, diversifying the diet to these animals so they don't just get stuck or, you know, eat their favorite food. Like, you know, your kid will only eat chicken nuggets or something. So we need to make sure that the animals are being exposed to a real diverse diet in order to make it more sustainable and to make sure that they're getting the nutrients they need.